What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for being here. Y'all know I can't start a video without saying thank you. In life, I feel like just being thankful always helps, you know? Even if you feel like nothing is going your way or stuff like that, just always be thankful. Like, always find someone who you're thankful for and just say thank you. Because I'm not gonna lie, like, I lived a lot of years where I was just ungrateful for things, you know? When I started realizing that there's so many things to be thankful for, and we hear that a lot. It's like cliche. Everyone's like, just be thankful for what you have. But I feel like it takes time to really have that be embedded in your mind, just because we're so programmed in society to like not be thankful and to always want more and want more. But what you already have is what so many people want, you know? So just want to start off my video like that. I hope it doesn't like come off too like depressing, because I feel like I'm low-key bipolar. I be having videos where I'm just like, I don't know, hella foolish, like always trying to be funny. Then there's some videos where I'm hella serious. So don't mind me if I be having these little random moments where I just turn this into a therapy session. So let's get to business. So I usually talk about political stuff, and specifically Israel and America and how they are leading us to a war right now.
It's war!
But yeah, so today I just want to talk about something very different. Well, it might have something to do with what we're seeing today, who knows, but I'm gonna do my best to make this video fast and interesting.
I hope y'all ready.
So I want to discuss a very important topic, something I've thought about ever since I was a young child. I began to notice certain trends in the shows and movies that, you know, I was watching when I was younger. I began to notice that a lot of the media I was consuming included a lot of subliminal messages. When I used to investigate the hidden meanings in Disney films and animated series as a child, like I was stunned, hella stunned. I was like, I think I was about maybe 13 to 15 years old when I started like searching up the subliminal messages and all that weird stuff that they started putting into our movies and shows and stuff like that. And it kind of brought me closer to God. It's kind of weird seeing all the evil that they were putting in there, where it was very demonic. So whether they are recognized or not, these subliminal messages, in my opinion, shift a lot of things in the viewer's subconscious minds. So to me, I feel like when we were kids, even if we didn't catch it consciously, it entered our subconscious minds already, and consistently. Because how many times have we watched the same Disney movie over and over again? And I feel like when you're watching a movie, of course you're focused on what you're seeing, but the power of the subconscious mind, it's also watching, and it's also trying to break down what you're seeing. So like I said, just because you didn't see it consciously doesn't mean that it didn't enter you subconsciously.
That's some deep, soulful stuff.
So that's why I feel like these subliminal messages were so like pushed onto Disney and all these other like children content, is because we're vulnerable as children. We can't pick it up. So whether they are recognized or not, these subliminal messages, in my opinion, shift a lot of things in the viewer's subconscious mind. Subliminal messages aren't limited to children's films or television shows. Hollywood also heavily incorporates them in order to accelerate the goals of predictive programming. My next bullet point was talk about the Jim Crow era, when segregation was rampant. Like, subliminal messages and predictive programming were employed to persuade people that African Americans are less than human, or what they called subhuman, which served as justification for the cruelty and injustices inflicted upon them. Yeah, for example, I don't know if you guys seen like a lot of clips from back then during the Jim Crow era, like how they were putting out a lot of film that portrayed African Americans as monkeys and showed them with big lips and showed them as being barbaric. And the most unfortunate thing is that we're still seeing this type of predictive programming and the input of subliminal messages in our movies today. Like now when I watch movies, it's kind of hard to watch the movie and enjoy it without seeing certain messages and things that shouldn't even be there, but it's there. But the question is, why is it there?
Why?
So here's this article that I'm going to cover with you guys. So the article is titled Predictive Programming: How do movies, books, and TV shows predict the future? And it says, want to see into the future? Start watching The Simpsons.
What an odd thing to say.
By Rupendra Brahmbhatt. So let's get into it. 9 years before the emergence and outbreak of the coronavirus, almost COVID-like situations were depicted in the movie Contagion. And I watched that movie. That movie is dope. If you guys haven't watched it, I think it's free on YouTube. It's crazy. Which was released in the year 2011. Similarly, a Simpsons episode titled The City of New York versus Homer Simpson that originally aired in the year 1997 features a plot that eerily mirrors the 9/11 tragedy in some ways. And I also don't want to sound like an anti-Semite or anything like that, but the creators of The Simpsons are Jewish. Predictive programming is a theory devised by conspiracy theorists. It claims that the government or groups of elites are using fictional movies or books as a mass mind control tool to make the population more accepting of planned future events. That's very interesting. So how plausible is this theory? Does the media we consume make us more likely to calmly tolerate any changes that those in charge wish to make, or to accept things that appear bizarre? For example, with everything going on in Israel and Palestine, I promised I wouldn't talk about anything political, but you know, my ass got to talk about some political shit.
No idea.
Like with the whole conflict before the genocide happened. Well, to me, it was always genocide going on before October 7th. To me, there was always Palestinians being killed and always being kicked out of their homes. But before all of that, Israel would always push out movies and films in Israel or newspapers that would predict Palestinians as barbaric people, as subhuman. Again, that pattern, giving them the okay to dehumanize the Palestinians by consistently putting this in their film, putting Palestinians as a threat to society and stuff like that. How can there still be Palestinians right now being killed? Why are so many people still accepting that? It's because I feel like they have been programmed by, a lot of this subliminal messages, a lot of these symbolic, energies that have brainwashed them to thinking that Palestinians deserve to be killed, or that Palestinians do not have a right to stand up against their oppressors or stuff like that. So yeah, let's move on. What is predictive programming? Predictive programming is not a specific theory, but a notion developed by contrarians and conspiracists who believe that the world is run by a totalitarian government of lizard people, or a powerful evil agency that fakes large-scale events to manipulate people's opinions and further increase their dominance. Conspiracy theorists claim that in order to prevent any sudden resistance or hostile reaction from the general public, the supreme totalitarian organization keeps adding subtle references to its planned future events in popular media so that when the event happens for real, the public is already mentally prepared and receptive to the new developments in the society. That to me is major key. This notion was first described and proposed by conspiracist Alan Watt, who defines predictive programming as a subtle form of psychological conditioning provided by the media to acquaint the public with planned societal changes to be implemented by our leaders. If and when these changes are put through, the public will already be familiar with them and will accept them as natural progressions, thus lessening possible public resistance and commotion. Supporters of the predictive programming theory somewhat illogically suggest that the government also employs this technique so that people don't lose trust in the already established system. They claim that first, the government plans a complex situation, then hides references of these in media so that people become somewhat accustomed to the feelings caused by these situations. And finally, when the situation actually does arise, the people will look to the government for solutions. It's actually really deep to think about that, because the government is losing so much trust from the people. It's crazy. The conspiracists also often argue that although governments already have the solution to the problem they created in the first place, they deliberately wait for the right time to implement the solution in order to cause the most damage to people's ability to think for themselves.
I can't even think right now.
Some believers even claim that predictive programming is actually a highly advanced form of AI, used for the psychological conditioning of the masses. Needless to say, these types of arguments are filled with logical fallacies, doctored footage and documents, outright lies, and a complete lack of proper scientific research or rigor. So why do some people still believe them? Perhaps the oldest example of predictive programming is found in Morgan Robertson's novel, The Wreck of the Titan, or Futility, that was published in the year 1898. The book tells the story of a glorious ship named Titan, but during its voyage in the month of April in the North Atlantic Ocean, the ship hits an iceberg and drowns along with the 2,500 passengers on board. About 14 years later, RMS Titanic met the same fate in reality as that of Futility's Titan. On April 15, 1912, the Titanic sank in North Atlantic with 1,500 passengers after colliding with an iceberg. Apart from the month, location, and conditions in which the ships crashed, the dimensions and speed of the fictional Titan and the real Titanic were also found to be almost similar.
Coincidence? I think not!
And to me, this is the funniest one, was like when Simpsons predicted Trump becoming president. I think this is the one that kind of went viral. When Trump became president, everybody was like playing this episode from The Simpsons.
And signs in the sky. And that epoch begins today.
Go, it's like a conspiracy.
A conspiracy, eh?
Freemasons run the country! Freemasons run the country!
It's great to be at Trump Tower. It's great to be in a wonderful city, New York. And it's an honor to have everybody here. This is beyond anybody's expectations. There's been no crowd like this. And I can tell you, some of the candidates, they went in, they didn't know the air conditioner didn't work. They sweated like dogs. They didn't know the room was too big because they didn't have anybody there.
Coincidence? I think not!
So pretty much this article just showed you guys that there are so many like instances or traumatic events that happen that was foreshadowed in like television and movies and stuff like that. Like, to me, the purpose of this video was not to feed into the conspiracy that our world is controlled by predictive programming or anything like that, but rather it was intended to draw attention to the possibility that artificial intelligence, which is changing people's perceptions of certain issues, is being used to maintain and control our society. So to me, this whole video was just me raising the question, who benefits from predictive programming? Furthermore, what steps can we take to shield kids from subconscious messaging and hidden meanings during their formative years?